This week in comic books, I don't know how to describe it.
I'm going to say some bad words. You're just going to have to deal with it.
That's about right. There's just some straight trash that came out this week. We're going to talk about that and a few things I did like. So there's some positivity for you. But other than that, let's jump right into it. So first off, right off the bat, let's talk about Zatanna, number 3. Bringing Down the House. This is just a horrible story. I'm not sure what the writers are thinking in this. And here's my problem with the story, just to get you kind of caught up on what's going on in this thing. So Zatanna, right, has a tragic reason why she has magic. Her dad apparently was one of the guys that studied secret scrolls, and he may have stolen some magic out there and passed it on to her. That's where they kind of cliffhanged you on this. But there's these two weird fractions that don't make any sense to me in Vegas. One is called the Casters, and they're kind of like the authoritative, righteous group, right? That are kind of making the determinations of who's guilty of what crimes, and there's bureaucracy involved. And they're just kind of, when you read their dialogue, I don't know if they were meant to be kind of, I don't know. It's like listening to somebody that doesn't know what they're talking about, tried to work something out where they sound intelligent while they're talking. And to add levity to it, they add snarkiness to it. I think that's a fair depiction of them. Then the other side, there's a girl who I'm assuming has a group with her. I don't know. They haven't released that information yet. But they're like bunny people. Get it? Magic? Bunnies? And she's kind of like, I don't have time to explain everything to you, what's going on, to the very simple questions that Zatanna's asking in this. Instead, she transforms a menu to kind of give her an illustrated story about her dad. That could have been explained in 2 word bubbles. Whatever. So Zatanna's kind of caught in the middle of these 2 groups, and everybody's a woman. Not that I have a problem with that. My problem with it is going to come up here in a second. So this is a woman empowerment story, is how I'm reading this, and a woman finding her own way. And I think I'm kind of getting the themes behind this. I understand it's not written for me. But I'm going to go down the journey with you, right? So we're going to go down this, and she makes a phone call to somebody, and then it's John Constantine. Why is it John Constantine? Well, I don't know. I have no idea. There's so many other female magic users that you could have used if this was going to be the theme of the story. Instead, you jumped on to John Constantine. One, he does have a loyal fan base as a fictional character. I know that sounds odd to say, but it's a fact. And people will read things that he is in. So the whole thing's a gimmick. Like, the whole thing is that there's no substance to this story. It's magical woo-woo. Woman tries to find her own way. Everything's snarky, right? Snarky comedy, one-liner type stuff that comes off rude. And hey, nerds. Hey, nerds. Here's John Constantine, so you say it's a comic book story. That's how I feel when I'm reading this. Like, somebody purposely did that, and I don't know. So it's trash. All right, next, something I did like. Task Force 7. Really enjoy this. Not a huge Flash fan. Like, I don't read a lot of his kind of stuff. I do like his engagement more when he's in a group of people, not just a bunch of speedsters, but when he's with other superheroes. I like him more as kind of like an addition to a story. But I did read this one, and I was interested in how the Amazo robot was able to keep up with the Flash. And also, they use some great scientific terms in here. Zeptosecond. That's a real thing, right? It's like a very small... Let me make sure I get this right. It's 1 trillion of a billionth of a second. And there's only 2 other measurements that are smaller than that. I thought that was really slick how they kind of threw, hey, let's use this word, see if people actually look it up. It's a measurement. It is. Anyway, I don't want to get too far down that road. And there were some other things in here too about the whole phasing through things, and that became a key part in here because this is where the heart of the story came into. See, Cocaine Joe has a little bit of heart too. What's great about this is we're immediately taken back as we're running through the Speed Force. Of course, like weird things. It's kind of MacGuffin. You use it how you need to use it. And we kind of see some past stories about how Flash was teaching Wally West how to phase through things. And he's like, it's easier. It only works if you think there's something you need to see on the other side. So, you're going to see a person that you care about, right? Adding that emotion to it to kind of get through that. I like that, right? Like using violence, right, as a tool, not just randomly, right, to get to an end point. And in this one, actually using something like hope or even love to get through something. I thought that was great. I thought that was smart of the writers to add that in there. So the concept behind Flash is if I can lock him in this area, he wouldn't be able to phase through it. But remember what I said about hate and violence. It is also a tool. So he's able to phase through. But it was great the way they made it. Almost seemed like he catched him. And then he just figured it out. And then, of course, the big heart moment where our Flash character runs up to Iris and says, he just wants to say that goodbye. And she doesn't accept this, saying that that's the deal between us. You always come back. That's the deal. And I was like, oh my God, that is a great thing. Like me and my wife make deals all the time, right? The deal is don't do anything stupid that will burn down the house. That's the deal here in our house. I really like that. That resonated with me. I really enjoyed that. Solid. Absolute Power. Task Force 7 stuff is solid reading. I enjoy it. You get your action. You get your heart. You get twist. You get the things that make a good story. And you don't have to rely on just woo-woo. You just use it to, flavor the steak instead of it being the steak. Again, rolling right into Absolute Power Origins. Same thing in here. We get a little bit of insight into Amanda Waller's intentions in this and how she kind of interacts with family. She has a daughter. She has a son. She was married once. He's no longer with us. And he was kind of like her in the aspect of, whatever it takes to get the job done, right? It's a form of philosophy, right? It's where the end result justifies the means. Best way to think of it. We don't need to go deep into philosophy. Not this week. But what's great about this is we see the Suicide Team, like one of the original ones that's being created during this, right? And how it didn't really work out. But again, there's the better team that's already set up. We also get some great hints between these two books that the Crime Syndicate is coming back. So that's going to be interesting to add into it, because Amanda Waller's got the Amazo robots going around stealing superhero powers. She's bringing in the Crime Syndicate, which are just bad guy versions of superheroes we love. And she also has a mastermind laboratory of all the evil geniuses. So, she's all aces right now, right? And I like this. I love this kind of slow build-up to show you how complicated it's going to be for the heroes to actually defeat this. My only hope is that the victory of the hero, which heroes always win, has a consequence afterwards. I'm big on that, right? Blood Hunt was a good example of that. There has to be consequences after a major event. So we may lose a character, or we have to redesign the universe, or something along those lines to give us that next refreshing story. I hope that's what happens in Absolute Power with all this great work that all these people have put into it. Next, let's go back to the trash bin. So Marvel came out with their 85th anniversary special. I had to get the Scotty Young one because I was not buying 2 copies of this. It's a wraparound cover, and I don't know what to tell you guys. You got roughly 5 stories in here, and they're generic. To make a big deal of, and I get it. Let me pause real quick. Come here. I get it. I know how comic books work. I've been buying them for a while now, right? You want to do a big push. You want some big sales. You throw collector. You throw super special anniversary issue in it, or whatever the case may be. But we, here on this channel, we're comic book readers. We actually open up the books and we read them. And I thought you could have done a little better. All I'm going to say is, out of the 5 stories, I should get 3 stories. I don't think I'm asking much there. The majority of the book should be something intriguing and interesting and shouldn't read like a newspaper article. And they did not deliver on that in this, as far as I'm concerned. Also, I feel like the big special books now are just mostly being used as stomping grounds for to test people. The Moon Knight story was okay in here. That was probably the one that I did enjoy. The other one seemed extremely generic, and I feel like a lot of the artwork was called in. However, I don't judge artwork. That's in the eye of the beholder. So definitely, if you read Marvel's 85th anniversary special and you're like poking your way off, I'm not one of those guys that's going to get into an argument with you about it. But I do want to hear your opinions. Definitely let me know. All right, next. This is where I'm going to get the hate this week. Aliens versus Avengers. So this is weird. I don't know. Of course, Scotty Young cover. Because again, was not buying 2 copies of this. I know an Aliens movie just came out. And I know our comic book overlords are always quick. Like, I'm still reading tons of Deadpool stuff. I got one I'm going to review for you here in a minute. Right? I get it, right? We pump it into the comic books, and that's not unusual. That's something that has always happened. So that's not my criticism. My criticism is when we do this kind of thing, this kind of rehashing or reimagining of these stories, I'm starting to notice this pattern where we're using older characters to kind of tell the story and move the story forward. Now, let me be clear. I'm not a spring chicken over here either, and I know a few of my viewers out there aren't either. But geriatric aged characters shouldn't be the main focus of the story, unless there's purpose behind it, right? I'll go that route with you. But in this one, Black Panther goes into space because he's got a space army now. So immediately you're like, oh, okay. It's kind of off-putting, but all right, you got to get up there somehow. Aliens come down to Earth. They got the little spider-looking things crawling around, infecting people. Probably the biggest shocker in this is Miles Morales gets infected by one of these things, and instead of an alien popping out of his chest, like in the movie, what ends up happening is it transforms him. So it's like a symbiote, alien, xenomorph, Miles Morales Spider-Man that looks like Agent Venom. Remember the white suit thing? Yeah. That's what happened in here. Also, older Hulk. Everybody's like, I have to show you. I try not to hold up pictures in here, but I just don't have the time to go and run down every single panel. So, like, this is the artwork in it, and I'm like, okay, you're going with that kind of gritty grunge. Like, we've seen this kind of artwork before, but when you use characters like this in this fashion, they never come off very well done. So I guess that's my biggest criticism. Again, I try not to judge art, but when the art is just so distracting from the story, it really just kind of pulled me out of the story. Like, oh, you went with that. I guess old people can't look good, maybe, according to the art. Like, I don't know. It's so weird. You'd think in the future they would have had Botox. All right, moving on. I apologize. I'm just going to say it now. All right, Chasm. The Curse of Cain. I thought this would be a cool cover. Here's my problem with this story. I know, it's a bad week. It's just a bad week. Just work with me. Not a fan of clone stories either. All right. Ben Reilly. If you don't know who Ben Reilly is, he's a clone of Peter Parker Spider-Man. And he has a clone of him. So you get a clone, and his name is Kai or something. It doesn't even freaking matter at this point because everybody's Spider-Man. Kaz is back. He escaped his eternal prison. He hooked up with his girlfriend, Hallows Eve. You know, the girl, she can put on a mask and she turns into that thing. And this one, she spent a lot of time as Frankenstein, which is weird to me, but whatever. And we have Drag. Drag is an Eternal. He's underground. And he's taking over Mole Man's kingdom. I wish they would do something better with Mole Man. You want to talk about a character that needs a little updating, maybe give him a little grittiness? That's probably one of those characters. Not Drag, the Eternal that nobody cares about. So he has like mind powers. He can get in, control people, that kind of stuff. You know, your typical power set for a mental type villain. So he takes over Ben Reilly, and apparently they're doing a lot of experimentation underground with bodies, right? Like taking, rat and claws and throwing them on things to make monsters. Monster making. But Kai is trying to find who he is kind of associating as his brother in this, even though they're clones, meaning they're the same person. Trying to find him to help him, but he's being mind controlled by this guy, and Hallows Eve's in it for some reason because apparently somebody needs a girlfriend, and it's if the review sounds ridiculous, I just told you what happened in the book. I haven't. Yeah, so there you go. I don't know what. That's not good. All right, something I surprisingly found okay. All right, I promise you. So, believe it or not, as much hype as there's been lately, Deadpool team up. This is actually pretty cool because we get to do something that I am passionate about for a change. This book was written for me. I feel like that because I'll just go ahead and spoil it for you. If you're not familiar with the 80s cartoon, toy line, and comic book, that's right. Yeah. We're going to Weird World. What a name. Just what a great name. What happens in this? Dragon Lord sneaks a bunch of eggs, dragon eggs, into our world to kind of catch a bad guy from his world to kind of get staff back. Everybody's riding dragons. Well, no, just them two, I should say. Dragon Man's in it. For all you Fantastic Four fans out there, he's in it. And it's kind of it's a weird story, especially if you like 90s Liefeld type action. A lot of jumping with the crotch open. It's awkward. But the goal, and Deadpool's trying to find these eggs as well because he's got a clan of ninjas coming after him. Weird. So everybody's in trying to get these dragon eggs. Wolverine shows up at the last minute because, again, movie came out. There's no other reason for him to be in this story, I'll be honest with you, but it's kind of fun seeing him. He shows up to help battle, too. So what happens? They get whisked off to Weird World. Hopefully the eggs are there, too. At this point, the eggs aren't even important, to be honest, if I had to be honest with you. I like my 80s nostalgia, and I'm getting that. And I would love to say I'm being unbiased, but I'm not. I'm being 100% biased. I just want to see some goofy 80s stuff, and I'm getting it. And 90s Deadpool stuff. So I'm okay with this. Let's see here. Fantastic Four. Still the smartest comic book out there. Challenge me. While everybody else is trying to explain the psychology and the philosophy of things, which I have been guilty of here. This one's going to hit you with some hard science and how things work in the universe around us and explain them very well. Like, how do we understand time travel today when we deal with something at a quantum level moving at the speed of light, right? We grow older, it does not, right? As you move further out into the expanse of space. But then it did something really smart. It kind of added this whole faith aspect to it as Reed Richards is freezing to death in space. And a hand came out and touched him. But he even tells you in the narration that I cannot 100% believe this is happening, that this hand saving me is an actual thing. I'm not really sure how I was saved. I can't purposely look at it. And he gives you case studies of how to verify something, which I thought was great too, using something like the FFA. Something as simple as that. Some other great points in this. This whole somebody getting chased down and sent nukes after. I'm doing my best not to spoil this story for you because I really want people to read it, but I want to intrigue you to come read it. So an alien comes to Earth. Come to find out, because of greed and corruption, this one alien destroyed their entire world. And the aliens hated this person so much for what they did that they just launched nukes at the location, which is Earth in this case, right? Which isn't a problem. Sue Richards can make a force field and ricochet them off into the sun. Super easy answer, right? But that's not really the point of this story. The point of the story that because of so much hatred and everything that happened, that even with all that hatred and a dying world, people billions of years ago now died, we get a baby out of it all. That kind of rebirth, right? and bringing the baby home and giving it an adoptive family. So it looks like the Fantastic Four are going to have yet another child that they're going to be taking care of. And I thought that was interesting. Death brought back to life, or resurrection, if you will. The outskirts of war, birth. I thought this was great, contrasting throughout the story. That uplifted a little bit. It's still why it's one of the smartest books out there. Next, Frankenstein. If you loved the movie, the black and white movie of Frankenstein, you're going to love this. But they did add a little twist to it where the hands of Frankenstein, taken from a body from grave robbers, Frankenstein's monster. I know somebody's going to put that in the comments. I know it's the monster. I'm just going to call it Frankenstein. Anyway, back to his hands. Belong to a guy in the grave. Well, the son of the guy in the grave was there. He's a small boy. So there's a human connection to this that's probably a little bit more hit you in the hearts than you would normally expect. And I thought that was great. It's just brilliant aspect, adding it to the story. And the kid realizing that, it's not his dad, it's a monster. But they hurt you, and I'm associating you as my father now that I don't have one. Imprinting is what it's called. So he wants to kill Dr. Frankenstein. Igor stops him, but I'm curious what's going to happen. Like, that's a cliffhanger for you right there. Loved it. Next, Rocketeer breaks free. This is great. This is great in-between reading, right? You get that 1940s nostalgia, jetpacks, which, by the way, we've been promised forever and never got, but yet I got to read about it in every comic book. Scientists do better. But also, the Ratsies have them, too, in a sub in San Francisco Bay, and there's an air battle of jetpacks. I'm going to be honest with you. Who doesn't want a jetpack? Come on. So that's it. That's this week's comic book haul and review. What did you think about these books, if you read any of them? And as always, what am I missing? What did I not pick up, look over, pass, or probably just didn't come to my shop? Definitely let me know down below. Would love to find them and read them for myself. And also, we have some independent reviews coming. A couple of creators reached out to me, so we're going to have some more of those coming out to you guys soon. Some books I'm kind of excited about. It's going to be good. September is going to be a good month. All right, guys. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.